Right, so in my second video at Wentworth Woodhouse Gardens, I've just moved on a little bit just to the side of the huge sweet chestnut there, so you get a good idea of how big it is. And there's a beautiful weeping beech there, absolutely stunning. And then you can see that variegated sycamore just there. That girth has got to be at least 20 foot. It's huge, absolutely huge. But I'm going to go from here. I'm going to go up to the Camellia house. There's a lovely grove of copper beech here. I think they're all copper beech, at least this first one is. And there's a little deer park just over there between the gardens and the garden centre, which is right over there. Yeah, that's a copper beech, but they're not all copper beech. This is so shady. Now there is a mass, as I say, a mass of snowdrops and daffodils in spring, and it's just wonderful. I mean, right up there, almost up to the Camellia house. But I think there's scope to do something. We already see there's like some large lumps of wood there. I'm thinking this is so dark, this would be quite a good place for a stumpery, a fernery, in amongst those trees there, so well back, because as I say, there's all daffodils and probably crocus as well, but snowdrops here. Yeah, it's so dark, that would be lovely to have something like a really good quality stumpery, fernery, lots of different types of ferns. I've got a few more rhododendrons. So most of these trees, well, there's sycamore, there's beech, most are beech, so there's not a lot that's going to grow under there. And again, beech here. So imagine this in autumn. Look at the size of that. It's got to be 200 years old at least. Lovely new growth there. Absolutely beautiful. Again, lots of. I think a lot of these are probably self-seeded. So again, you know, once you do a really good assessment of the gardens, which I don't know if that's been done, I would hope so. Oh, you got a witch hazel there. Again, lovely autumn colour in the corner there. You know, if these are just self-seeded, then some of these can come out, and maybe this could be because the Camellia house is just there. That building behind it there is going to be a tea room. That was the Lady Fitzwilliam's tea room, as it used to be, and it's going to be again apparently. the camellia house is just attached to it, which we'll come to in a bit. But maybe this could be a camellia walk. I mean, there are plenty of camellias spotted around the garden, but if you were to take some of these self-seeded rhododendrons out, and we may come round again to this area at some point, then you could plant some camellias, and there is such a wide variety of camellias now. You've got shelter from the morning sun, that way's east, so you've got a backdrop. You could maybe keep a backdrop of rhododendrons to provide that protection from early morning sun, and then you've got a mixture spaced all around of different types of camellias. Yeah, and that leads you up then to the tea rooms and the camellia house. That lovely, lovely, fine, long needles of that pine there. Or is it a spruce? I don't know. As I say, conifers aren't my forte, even though I do like them. So this is probably the most historical, I mean it's all historical, but this is probably the most important part of the gardens. Again, you can see lots of rhododendrons around. As we come to the camellia house, now apparently they have just about, I think, got the money to refurbish this. Yeah. As you can see, it's in a state, but the reason why this is the most important part of the garden, in fact it's probably the most important building, not the building itself but what's inside it, these are the most important plants probably in the Western Hemisphere, certainly in the UK, because it has been verified. You can't go in because it's fenced off. Obviously it's a dangerous structure. Those camellias inside were the very first camellias that apparently came not just to the UK, but I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, that came from the Far East to Europe. So we're talking 250, at least 250 years ago. And so they are those original trees in there. Now that's been verified by, I think there's a camellia specialist centre or something, or an expert, I think it's down in Chiswick, that's come up and has kind of verified that. See, one's popped its clogs there, but now the last owner did have the roof put back on, but he had a lead roof put on, which was then pinched. They came over the wall and they took all the lead off, so he had to spend about another 70 grand on putting another roof back on. Guess what? They came back and they stole that as well. So personally, they have the money now to redo that again, but what I think they need to do is they need to put a glass roof on, because if they don't put a glass roof on, all these camellias are going to start, if you can imagine that roof just being a solid dark roof, all the camellias are going to start growing this way. You can see the camellia beds are at the back of the building, of the glass house, and there's a large amount of space at the front. Well, if you put a solid roof on, this is a south facing front, so those camellias are going to start to lean forward and lean towards the light, and it's going to be hard to keep them in position. If you put a glass roof on, then they're more likely to stay in that place that they are planted. Not only that, if you have a glass roof like they have in Sheffield Botanical Gardens, where you can lift part of the roof up to let ventilation in, you can also lift it up high enough to actually let the rain through. So you can actually, when it's forecast rain, you can put the glass roof on a timer and let it open to the elements and let the rain come in and water the camellias. I mean, luckily in South Yorkshire we have soft water, so the water is usually pretty alright for watering camellias, rhododendrons, those plants that like acid conditions. But even so, if you can just open ventilation hatches in the glass roof, you know, that are spaced regularly along the entire length of the roof, then you can just let the rain come in and water the camellias. And you still, you know, it can be built to match the style of the building. You keep the rest of the building as it is, but it's just adding a slightly modern twist that doesn't take anything from the history of the building in any major way, and in fact benefits the most important thing of this building, which is the plants inside. So that's what I'd like to see. Whether they will do that or not, time will tell. But the other thing I'd like to see, and as we look over there, you have a lovely view of the I think that's Hercules in his kind of temple or something. We've got I'm not sure how old this is, but I'd like to see this brought back. But all around here, because it's a south-facing site, you've got a wall protection there. It's got a 12-foot wall and trees and shrubs above it. You've got so that's southwest rather, that's south, that's east. You've got an open sunny site for a rose garden. If there's one thing this garden lacks, it's summer colour. I shall take you to the herbaceous border in a bit, because that's really, except for the small section which we'll see at the end, that's the only summer colour in the garden, so it's sorely lacking in summer colour. But I imagine this laid out all around here with areas to sit, tables out in the summer, for people to sit out and enjoy a tea from coming through there, from the tea rooms, coming through that door, coming out here, having a quick look at the chameleons, coming out, sitting on tables spaced all around amongst the rose gardens, amongst the rose beds. Lots and lots of really good high quality roses out there that are disease resistant, that are repeat flowering, that are well scented. This is what needs to happen to this area to really make this a garden of absolute top repute. If anybody's been to David Austin Rose Garden in Albrighton and you look at the variety and the quality of those roses, and it doesn't have to be David Austin, there's Pete Beals, there's other rose growers, there's Cords, you know, there are some stunning varieties now that are disease resistant. You can grow them with combination planting, you can grow them with other plants that like open sunny positions, salvias for example. Apparently there are trials at the moment about how salvias can, because they give off a sulphur-like scent, it actually helps in reducing black spot on roses. So it just cries out for one impressive, huge rose garden here. Sunshine all the day. Well, except for when the sun goes in, of course. And unfortunately, Mr. Newbold, the last owner, decided to put an orchard here. I think this space is wasted for an orchard. If you remember when I finished the last video, I pointed the camera towards Wentworth Church and there was a field just beyond the gate that you could see. And if you actually look over that gate and to the right there is an old walled garden there. That to me would be the ideal location for an orchard, so I would have these trees out. I mean, that one's come off its stake anyway. A lot of these, before they put protection round them, got eaten by rabbits, a lot of the bark at the bottom, but they came and put some protection on, which has helped keep them off. These apples look lovely, but I would remove this and I would start again, or even transfer these if it's possible to come November time, December. Move these over there and this entire area to be a magnificent rose garden. There could be more species rose if you want to have it more formal there near the formal Camellia house, and then as it goes further away it can be a little bit more informal with more species roses, a little bit wilder, lots of berries, lots of hips later on, etc. So yeah, so what we're on 16 minutes, so that doesn't lead anywhere at the moment, just some temporary portaloos there, and there's some more on the main path which you might have seen. But as we come along here we come to the South Terrace, and I think once we have a look here, I think I'll finish that video here. Actually, that'd be better. I'm taking the wrong turning there. Not really, but I wanted to go this way. Look at that, some lovely, lovely conifers there. And look at these. Any idea what that is? I have no idea what that is. It looks like Japanese knotweed. So it's probably a relative of Japanese knotweed, but I'm not sure what that is. So here we come to the Ionic Temple and the South Terrace. This is the largest structure in the garden. So that tower you see over there is Keppel's Column. You look southeast, Rotherham is over there. There is a tower, not sure if you can see it, but that's kind of on the edge of Rotherham Centre, just below those 4 wind turbines in the distance. And then southwest is Sheffield. A bit closer is Thorpe Hesley there, that housing there. And of course all this right over to Keppel's Column and right round is or was the Wentworth estate. So obviously all the farmland and everything is what made the place wealthy. Remember I talked about the ice house on the last video. There's one of the ponds where they used to get the ice down there. So this structure goes right down there, which we're not going at the moment. Although we might come out at the bottom end at some point. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now with that view of the Ionic Temple. Bye for now.